Thank you very much for that introduction. As has been announced, I'm John Hutchinson. I'm head of Maritime at DIT. Unfortunately, I've been given this sort of graveyard shift that looks like just after lunch, but I'll try to be short. Actually, I've been told to keep it short, say 15 minutes, John, if you please, because people got trains and things to do, but I'll try my best to make sure that I keep you going. It was mentioned I was an assistant head teacher at one point. I mean, normally we'd get people doing press-ups and energize yourself. I'm not going to bother with any of that. I'm just going to go straight into my presentation. Apologize for the lack of tie. I was saying to, I think it was Paul Blakeson recently, that I normally always wear a suit and tie all my life until COVID came, so this is why I'm looking like this, but tried to put this shirt on today and it just wouldn't fit anymore. It's COVID for you, I say. But luckily, I'm going to tell you about something that's expanding as well, other than my waistline today. So we'll go into that in a minute. So who are we? I mean, most of you probably know who DIT is already. But I'll just tell you some of the basic facts for those who don't. I mean, we're a new department established in 2016. We used to be UKTI, but we decided that we were going to become a government department so that we could have more clout in the international stage. And we brought together a number of different areas. So the bit that I work in is international trade and investment. And it's all about working with companies, making sure we can promote your products overseas or bring investment into the UK. And we've got sector teams focused on specific sectors like maritime. We've also got our overseas network, which is based in all the embassies overseas, over 100 different posts all over the place where we've got people in. And that is one of our great strengths, where we can work hand in hand with Foreign Office in order to get the UK offer overseas. And then we've got ITAs as well. I mean, all over the country, independent trade advisors who can work with SMEs and begin to help them trade. We've got our policy department, which is covers things like FTAs, trying to break down barriers to entry, looking at trade policy and those sort of things. Export finance, I mean, I've put it under our banner. They might not be particularly happy. I've got them right under my triangle. But it's an important part of our offer, is making sure that we can help with export finance and make sure that no deal is lost because of lack of finance. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. And then there's various campaigns we run, like Made in the UK, Sold to the World, which is a new campaign we've rolled out recently. We used to have the Great campaign, and I'll talk about that as we go on. But that's just a quick sort of overview of who DIT is. Now, we see there's a big opportunity here. I mean, you've all heard about this opportunity, but it's almost like there's a sort of inflection point we can see here where we're beginning to get this change on the decarbonisation agenda, looking at moving forward into new areas like digitization, autonomy, green propulsion. You know, this is an opportunity that we've not had in a long time. All these ships need upgrading, all these ships need changing, and the trade is beginning to grow. We think it's going to triple by, I think it's 2050 perhaps. So we're looking at this big opportunity for the UK to actually move into this market. At the moment, we've got like about 5% in green tech, but about 2% of the actual market. So if we could even keep hold of that, we'd be doing really, really well. I mean, I put up a list of some of the numbers there to show the size of the prize. You can see we've got, 263 billion in technology, 13 billion in shipping tech. We've got digital tech. We've got 1.45 trillion potentially to decarbonize everything by 2050. So there's lots of big numbers there. And we are hoping that we can help us in the UK begin to grow and take hold of this opportunity. So where do we see these opportunities? Well, as I've mentioned, we've been growing the team recently. So we have putting people all over the world at the moment. So I have put specialists into some markets, people from industry. I've been recruiting from places like Griffin, from Babcock, ex-Babcock employees. We've been looking at people from Hyundai Heavy Industries. I've been bringing Greek financiers in and really trying to get industrial knowledge into the department. I mean, we initially had a small team. I think it was mentioned last night. It was like John Strang and his dog. Now we've got a headcount of about 40 people by the time we're finished. So what we can offer is a lot more. And we've got people, I've put people into somebody covering the APAC region. I've been doing research into India. I've been doing research into Republic of Korea. We've been doing stuff in Singapore. I've got a research underway in China, and I'm also looking at putting a head of trade into there. We've been doing something in North America. I've got a scoping exercise underway in the Caribbean, got a scoping exercise in the Eastern Mediterranean, just to name a few. And there's lots of opportunities. We can begin to grow this pipeline, and I've already, in just a few short months, we've begun to identify lots more opportunities. You've got your clean tech, digital maritime, autonomy, professional services, etc. So there's lots and lots that we hope we can help with, and we're beginning to expand our footprint and knowledge. As part of this model, we're looking at coming up with a sort of interface, not just between civil, which I'm sort of the head of, but DSE, the military side, and the naval side, bringing the team together. That headcount includes others there, and we begin to talk to each other so we can see if there's any synergies between the two. So my counterpart is Captain Darren Houston, who is off the aircraft carrier HMS Prince of Wales, and he covers that side. So we're beginning to work together, I guess, naval and defence, and we're trying to create this system that works across government. So we work hand in hand with the NSO, who you've heard earlier, and we are very, very close to them. Rod Patterson, for instance, and Tony Williams, who's in the audience. I've got them on hot dial, calling them all the time and making sure we're working together. And we want to make sure that we're married up. We're presenting a cohesive offer. And as part of that, we've grown the team, about 40 people, as I said. We're beginning to buy into big databases. We're spending quite a lot of money there, computer systems in order to grow things, specialists overseas, lots and lots of research, etc. So hopefully, if you've not worked with us before, there'll be lots of opportunity that we can do with you going forward. There's a fancy picture up there of Whitehall. You can't actually see us. I think we used to be in one of the buildings along Whitehall, but we've now moved into Old Admiralty building. It's not just for my team, it's for the whole of DIT, but it's an appropriate setting. So how can we help? So there's lots of activities that we can do if you've not worked with us before, across investment and overseas trade. I mean, for individual firms, we can help open up markets, we can do matchmaking, we can give you information in the markets, we can give you tailored advice, help with events and missions, etc. We can bring you into UKEF. For the wider offer, we can look at these free trade agreements, multilateral agreements, plurilateral deals, etc. We can remove barriers, we can look at regulatory stuff, we can look at controls, you can set up MOUs, all those sort of things to help grow that. I'm going to go into these in a little bit more detail. So this is our sort of process here. I mean, first of all, we're generating the leads, and we've got about at least 21 activities here that we can do. I've not put them all up, and it's not exhaustive, but I'll go through them. But basically, we look at leads, we do our research, we begin to work in account management with companies, so that both overseas and here to try and identify those, working with the NSO, especially in the home market. We then try and validate those leads to make sure they're actually viable. And then once we've done that identifies space, we then move on to introducing the opportunities. So that's about working with yourselves, and it's working with overseas buyers. And we can do that through events, through marketing, through leveraging people, and then we try and secure the offer. So some of that's about shaping the bid, bringing in UKEF. And then finally, as we begin to go into the final phase, the sort of delivery phase, we tail off a bit. There's less we can do, but there's still some stuff. Maybe giving a bit of sell-side support or, helping with export licensing. And then finally, we can do a little bit around, like payment chasing into just that it's more soft power rather than anything hard, or identifying further opportunities. But I'll go through these a little bit slower in a second. So the first one is generating the lead. So this research we're doing, I've run a lot of research overseas. Some of that's formal, some of that's informal through our specialists. And we put that into our sort of database, and we can try and inform you of what we've discovered. Got the account management, so we're trying to work this out fully with NSO, but we're looking at a sort of joint approach in the UK so we can work together in tandem. But overseas, we'll be trying to work closely with all the major buyers. And then we try and increase the desire for suppliers to export, or even the buyers to import. So this is part of what I'm doing just now, telling you about all the good sort of stuff we can do. And then sometimes we can also help increase the ability to export. So if we spot there's barriers, we can try and raise that with other government departments, or we can try and knock down barriers to trade. Then we can move on to that validating the lead part. So we can, as part of the work, if we identify an opportunity, we can do some initial assessment just to check it's right before we approach anyone. Then we can provide soft landings. We've got networks we can introduce you to. We've got advisors we can introduce you to. There's market intelligence we can give you to, reports we can give you to in market. And then there's about building consortia as clusters. If we have any problems where one company can't do it alone, perhaps we can bring others together to make some sort of a prime or special purpose vehicle in order to bring it. We can use that convening power to come together. And then we can assess the demand requirements from the other side, from the buyers. I mean, this is one of our probably more important abilities, is the ability to open doors. British companies tend to trust us because we're the British government. Overseas buyers trust us because Britain's got a good name. So if I was to call up, I mean, I used to be in business beforehand, and I used to call places up, and it'd be whatever. But if we call up and say we're calling on behalf of the British government, then doors will open and we can make introductions or find out information it's not normally as easy to get to, and we can help get people in. It's not always that easy, though. I mean, sometimes I've called companies up cold and say, this is John Hutchinson from DIT. I've got this £25 million opportunity for you. Interested? And they say, you got a name? And I was like, no. And so they hang up on me. But getting business cards is important, but we can do that sort of thing. We can also introduce the opportunities to people, so that marketing stuff to say, look, we've discovered something great. Let's get that out there. We can, a lot of stuff, put events together. So we can, we're supporting a few events, but a lot of the key behind those events is the background work. It's about making sure we can matchmake between people beforehand. So we'll go out, we'll try and find out what the requirements are in advance, and then we'll try and set up meetings at the events or around those events, like technical workshops, for instance. We'll bring one person in from a company and get them to present to the actual buyers, sometimes face-to-face. And those sort of workshops, when you've got people talking to each other and it's already been set up, quite often result in interesting deals. Sometimes I do that in the back of dinners. I mean, I think there was one dinner where I got in a bit of trouble because I spent too much in wine, but I still got £25 million deal off the back of it. Or we can bring in VIPs, for instance, like trade envoys. We can bring in ambassadors. We can bring in ministers in order to try and support. So if you need anybody in country to come to my team, and we can see what we can do. And this is obviously some of the missions we're going to support. So we've got APM next week, I think. Posidonia we're going behind. North Shipping's coming up. And there's a whole number of ones that we're working on, developing and bringing up. And we've got a program going ahead 3 years now. Now we've got a bit more funding. And we've got a UK trade show program, which allows us to give some money to people who are looking to exhibit. When it comes to securing the opportunity, shaping the bid is very important. Get in early, and we can talk to companies. We can try and get you in front of them and begin to shape some of the bid. I mean, one example that springs to mind is in India. I was able to secure a £1 billion deal in the oil and gas industry that we didn't think we'd ever be able to get, and that was through by shaping the bid and making sure the British offer was the one that was put forward. We can bring in UKEF, and I can give you the contacts for them in order to help. I mean, it's not a panacea to everything, and there is problems because we only cover 80% of it, and the banks have to cover the other 20% of the loan. But it is a big help, and it's something we can help you with. We can help you with trade barriers as well. Okay for time? Yep. Okay. And UK export finance is one of our big offerings. I mean, I can make introductions to anybody who's interested in that, and I can tell you about that. But basically, their ideal is that we can win contracts, fulfill orders, enable insurance, so we can give you those credit guarantees, we can give you those insurance guarantees if you're not unable to get them before. Only thing is, make sure you get in plenty of time. If you leave it till the last minute, it can take a bit of time. If anybody needs support with that, please talk to me, or need any introductions, I can put it forward. For instance, Parkour Marine Engineering They were trying to get a deal in Ireland for a motorised trawler, and we managed to get UKF in, secure the deal, and get the payments in, and that was successful as a result of that. When we move to landing the opportunity, we can give some support through giving some advice, by talking it through, by talking to people at that sort of negotiation stage, using a bit of soft power. Nothing formal. You can put the arm around people we know in the network and talk to them. Or we can support with export licensing as well. Then we've set up a new service called the Export Support Service. And this is a sort of one-stop shop that you can call up if you're looking for individual advice in the market. And again, I can give you contact details for that, or you can find it on the web. We've got our international trade advisors who I've mentioned, and they are based all over the country, and they are able to work with SMEs and able to triage things or put people on before coming to my team if necessary. And I meet with them, or planning on meeting with them once every quarter. So there's a lot of good communication coming back and forth over and above our sort of standard meetings. Another example of success we had with Silverstream Technologies. Recently we spotted the opportunity to sell their particular technology, which makes things much more efficient on the side of boats. And we've managed to get that onto a number of boats across the world. We're hoping to keep growing that. So there's one recent success we've had. And then finally, about maximizing that opportunity, we can try and identify new opportunities. If something's gone wrong, we can do a bit of a review. And if you're getting stuck with payment, we can maybe talk to people and see what we can do on that. All of this ties into our growth export plan. We have a free 38 million internationalization fund where you can get grants of up to 9 million for various activities. It's 50-50. We have an export academy which can help train people in exporting. We've just recruited 64 new trade advisors and 24 new overseas business champions, and 100 additional export champions. So we're beginning to bring various capacities in through this growth plan. There's a number of contacts I've put up here in case you're interested in getting in touch. There's a general inquiries. You get people. This is not an extensive list, but there's my contacts. You got Mike Essex, who's head of exports. Luciana, who's head of investment, who's in the crowd just now. John Strang, who is a senior shipbuilding manager. We've got Sam Venters, who covers ports, and Graham Mulholland, who's our supply chain lead. I mean, there's a lot more people on the team, and as I mentioned, we've got the military side as well. So we've got Darren Houston on that side, who's covering it with his team, and we're integrated under the one sort of office. And we can make introductions to other people. There's lots of things we're doing just now, and I'd be really keen on talking to as many people as possible. If you think you can help, if you think I can help you, get in touch. I mean, as I see it, it's about us working together in partnership. I mean, I work quite closely with Tom Chant and SMI and trying to put some of these plans forward, looking at our planning ahead. And it's by us supporting you and working to what you need that we'll advance together. I mean, there's a lot of things we're doing just now to try and push this forward. For instance, we're putting a capability guide out at the moment, which some of my team is developing, and it's looking at all the UK capabilities so we can share it effectively. If you're interested in being part of that guide, I can get in touch with me, and I can make sure you're put into it, and then we can use that when I give it out to post to train up the Maritime teams overseas or elsewhere, and to also make sure we're selling the offer. I mean, at the moment, we are starting from a small team, but we're growing up to a big team. And we're hoping with the increased resource at hand, and increased reach and increased priority behind this, we'll be able to do a lot more. So there's a lot in the future to look for, and I'm looking very forward to working with you in the future. So please get in touch. I love collecting business cards, and I love even more helping UK companies win business. So thank you for your time.